Hey guys, today we'll be seeing an example of form data source, how we can create a CoC of form data source. So for that, we are going to use our vendor group form. So the scenario is that whenever we'll create a new vendor group, let's say I keep the vendor group as 23, okay? So when I say this vendor group, you see here is by default the description is not coming, okay? So whenever a new vendor is getting created, so let's say we want to give the description as default description. So I will simply write default description. So now whenever next time you will create a new vendor, okay, so you will automatically get default description here. So we'll write CoC of form data source for that. So now since we already know, we are going to create a CoC of form data source. So first of all, I will create a new class. Now to create a new class, step is very straightforward. Click here, click on new item, expand this node, go to code section. Here simply write a class. So I will say something like group form data source, and we'll write extension at the end. So this is important to write extension at the end whenever you are creating a CoC. So it will take a second to reflect here depending upon the performance of your view. So now my class is ready here. So I will remove this internal here, and we need to decorate our class. So to decorate that, we need to write something called extension of. Okay. Then we are going to create extension of our vendor group and vendor group form. So let me show you first of all form. Go to form here and click on vendor group. So now we'll open this form. So if you will extend this particular node data source, so we are going to create a CoC of this data source. Okay. So the name of our form is this, and the name of our data source is this. So we'll write name of our form data source inside this. Okay, now you need a string value, so for that you are going to use a global function called as form data source str. Okay, now here you need to specify your form name and data source name. Our form name is vendor group, so let's simply say vendor group here. Okay, then here we need to write name of our data source, so simply write this. Okay, so now we are going to write the code inside the write method. So I will simply say a public void write. Now for our, we'll do a next call here. So for that I will simply write next write, and I will close the parenthesis here. Okay, so now the important thing is here, if you want to get the form data source, so you could write something like this, form data source. Okay, let me define an object here. Okay, and if you will simply write this. Okay, so when you create a CoC of form data source, at a time this is nothing, it's simply a form data source. Okay, now from this form data source I could easily get my current buffer. So to use that, you simply can write here vendor group, because you need the buffer. So define an object here, vendor group, and simply say fds dot use a function called cursor, which will give you the current instance record. Okay, now we'll check if when group dot description, we have field called description, right? I think the field name is name here. Okay, if there will be no record inside this particular buffer, so you could simply say when group dot name equals to default default description. So I'll close this and close this. So let me simply save this. So now we'll build this. So again, let me reiterate this for you. So we are planning to create a CoC of form data source. So for that we have chosen our main group form. Okay, how do we know that? Simply click here. And whenever we are creating a new in group, by default we want to add some kind of description here. Okay, so for that I've decided I will write the code at my form data source, and I will use the write function here. We simply call next write, okay, and then I define the object of my form data source and I pass this. This is nothing, just a form data source. Now from my form data source, I simply did the cursor, which will get me the current vendor group buffer, and then here I'm checking if the name already exists for vendor. Okay, sorry, I should write here not. We do a correction here. So we'll need to write here not. If there will be no value inside this particular field, that is the name, the description field, then we are going to assign a default description here. So let me do a build again here. Yeah, so guys, the build is completed now, and we'll start our test. Okay, so what we are going to do, we'll do the simple test first of all. Okay, I will say vendor as 11. So now as soon as I will hit on save button, here you will see automatically default description is coming. Okay, now the second test will be, here I will give 12, and here I will say 12 is already there. So when I will do save, so code will not run, because here we have written the condition if the vendor name is not there, then only assign the default description. So when I will save, so here nothing will change. Okay, and now there would be one more scenario. So for example, let's say you remove this. Let's do this here. Now when you will save this, because our code will run, because you are trying to write here, okay, you are doing a kind of write here, so that's why here default description is also going to come. So usually you use this form data source to sometimes activate or deactivate form data source. So typically you choose the active method here, and then you write the code. If you are into this particular record, if you are into this record, you want to enable and disable, or you want to hide something. So at that time the form data source is very helpful. So this is about creating a extension of form data source, especially at the data source level. So thank you for watching the video.